All right, we are up and running. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, whenever you decide to watch this wonderful show. Tonight on the Caffeinated Dad gaming channel, I actually have some guests. Some of you, actually, I'm pretty sure you guys would recognize most of these. I'm the small fish amongst the bigger ones in this pond. Tonight is going to be a bit of a discussion, a bit of a podcast discussion style with a video. I don't know where I was taking this. I had the idea and I ran with it. Tonight, I am joined by Muckluck, I'm joined by the Heavy Hat, and of course, Vallun. All names, if you've been in the Gw2 spectrum, I'm sure that you have heard. You'd be living under a rock if you haven't heard these guys. So, with this, we're going to talk about, Spart's already saying, let the gooses fly. I'm going to cover a number of topics on Gw2, see what the thoughts, pick the brains of the creators who've been here a lot longer than I have, and Hat and I will sit back and watch idly. So, I'll bring in everyone. Welcome in, guys. How are you this evening? Don't all...
Pretty well.
Okay, I was going to say...
I was waiting for Vallun to say something.
I was going to say...
Doing good, thank you.
Don't all speak at once. Everyone's like, oh man, is this the kind of crap that we talk about? I'll just go straight across the list. Muckluck, you have created so many videos, and I didn't even realize on the other side that you actually have your Muckluck Plays channel, which has even more videos. Like, it is just absurd the amount of videos that you are putting out. For those who may not understand who you are or know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Muckluck Douglas, but I thought to be Reginald Esquire the Fourth. Started off as just a streamer. I now do a lot of streaming in YouTube. I'm lucky enough that I found enough success with this that I've been able to do it full time. I do have two YouTube channels, but one of them has like edited content, like, you know, videos that are like really long projects. The other channel is kind of like, I'm sure everybody knows what like a Let's Play channel is. It's similar to that. It's basically the videos on there are just like recordings of me doing playthroughs of games. So if someone's like, oh, Muck, have you played the new Resident Evil? I can just be like, oh yeah, here's a link to it if you'd like to watch it. And, you know, it's a little, you know, it's a way that people can appreciate past streams, and also, you know, it earns a little bit of revenue. But it does not take a lot of effort to maintain it because there's no editing done on that one.
Very good, very good. Yeah, now, I think pairing with that, the other impressive mark with your, we'll say just content creation career is the amount of consecutive days that you have been able to, there we go, put you up front and center. The amount of consecutive days that you have been able to stream is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I've heard that at least once or twice. I have streamed the last 1,546 days in a row. We have a counter going, so it's like 4 years and change. I might have a problem. I have a very addictive personality. I found something I like doing. It was streaming. I've done it every day. There was a couple of days where we were panicking. There was one day recently where my power was out, so I did like a 30-minute stream from my phone before the battery died, and I was just screaming, it still counts, it still counts the whole time. But yeah, most of the time, you know, I'm here each evening, and then occasionally, you know, like I'll do a morning stream too, just to visit the Europeans on the other side of the planet. But yeah, that's me.
Absolutely impressive, because I struggle to do it like twice a week. Now, granted, I actually, like I said, I was stream sniping you earlier. I did see that your son came in and, you know, he was saying goodnight and all that. Of course, the Caffeinated Dad isn't just we'll say, like a fun play. It is legitimate. I have 3 kids under the age of 5, so hence the late start time. Usually 9 o'clock is where I can safely say that they are asleep and actually do something. So I can respect that, one dad to the other. I do want to move over and talk to Hat, Heavy Hat, who I'm sure you guys have seen in some way, shape, or form. Hat, how are you this evening?
Doing good, man. Yeah, honestly, nothing exciting, nothing really bad, so I'm doing all right.
Hat has been making a number of, like, it's almost like meme content. Let me put it that way. What made you want to get started here in Gw2? I got it on there. There we go.
Honestly, so I I started doing video editing for my real job, boring real life stuff, and I ended up realizing, hey, you know what? As much as I love teaching, you know, my work agents and everything how to take phone calls and whatnot, like I would more like to take this skill and talent that I have and put it towards something I enjoy, like video games. And so I started making a YouTube channel about like playthroughs and stuff. And then the Guild Wars 2 video, the first one I ever made was it was like Guild Wars 2 is the awesome MMO that nobody knows about or nobody cares about or something like that. Because I had just started replaying Guild Wars 2 after a few years, and I decided to make that video in the same type of style that I make a lot of my work videos, where I'm actually in it versus just a voiceover. And it blew up, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I kind of found my medium of how I wanted to do this.
I mean, hey, like I'm actually somewhat on the same boat as you. Just kind of finding out the way to make videos, and then Guild Wars 2, the community just sucked us right up. Like I played on and off, and very similar to you. Now I've noticed that your skits, by the way, have gotten a lot better in production value. Let me put it that way. I've seen you go ahead and put out all sorts of wonderful content that is more so centered around like green screen, sound effects, other things like that. Like the production quality is going up. What made you want to go down that route?
Honestly, it's more of just like challenging myself in video editing because it is something I genuinely enjoy. As far as the green screen goes, I still don't have one. I need to buy one. My birthday's coming up, so I think I'll just use that as an excuse to buy myself a green screen. Then it won't be as choppy. But realistically, it's not even just like, oh my gosh, I had all these different ideas. It's just, hey, you know, I wanted to challenge myself to do something a little bit more in depth. And I don't know, I think the community deserves it. So
the community does very well. And lastly, I want to sneak over to Vallun. Vallun, are you still there lurking in the shadows playing a thief?
Yes, sir.
Welcome in, bud. I'm glad that we could connect and get you here. So for those of you who potentially don't know who Vallun is, Vallun has quite literally a video on every single aspect of Guild Wars 2. I mean, it is no like short of that. And Muck, I know that you said that earlier, and I was like, damn, he has a very good point. Like he does. Vallun, how did you get into Guild Wars 2? What happened there? What sucked you in?
I was a Guild Wars 1 player, so I was ready when Guild Wars 2 betas came out. I was playing that a lot, but how I got into content creation was, I think in college I had to do like a documentary, and it was about like music, and my teacher was like, wow, you have a really good voice. You should like do National Geographic. And I was, at the time I was like, maybe they just give me a compliment, but that actually turned out to be kind of true, that was pretty good at, you know, commentating and stuff. And I eventually got into doing Let's Plays and making content for Guild Wars 2. So yeah, most of my content is, you know, commentating on stuff and, you know, guide type content where it's long form.
if I may.
I like how you said it turned out to be true that I do indeed have an amazing voice.
Yeah, my voice is like sweet audible chocolate.
I mean, yeah.
Low-key played it off like a champ. Like there was no hiding that.
I do really want a National Geographic documentary of like World v. World now, though. From you. The Ranger stalks its prey.
I'll have to do like one of those lore videos on like a specific, like the Karka or the Kirin.
There you go.
Go through the entire history of like an entire species. I don't know.
My chat says David Attenborough is shaking.
Now, legitimately, every single video that I think Vallun has come, and actually I did love, because I did watch a couple of your streams where you snuck off and played Elden Ring, which again, a lot of respect. That game humbles me and makes me appreciate how like unkillable I am here in Guild Wars 2.
God, but yeah, it's a good game.
Oh man, they aren't kidding. But with that, no matter what you're saying, and I type in the chat and all that, and I always love, and I say this to my own chat and the people who watch my shows. Like, legitimately, every time that I mention you, and I'll be like, oh, hey, Vallun, what's up? You're like, all right, hi, Caffeinated. Yes, no, the hammer catalyst is not a meme. It's okay now. You called, like, it's just, I always joke because it's always like you're low-key frustrated that I'm here asking you questions. I always love it. And it's such a soothing voice to back it up.
I think it comes off that way because I try to maintain, a decorum and not be too over enthusiastic.
All right. Well, I mean, honestly,
I don't sound like I'm excited that you're there, so maybe people take that the wrong way.
I stress that, especially when streams are up and doing their thing. And if you have streamed, if anyone has streamed, you know, and obviously, Muck, this includes you. You know that you can't get to everything in chat, and there's also you're trying to pay attention to the game. There's a lot of moving pieces, so like what'd you say, decorum? You were kindly telling me, like, okay, that's enough. I need to 1v6 a team. Excuse me. I have things to do.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, there's certain content that I can have full conversations with chat while I'm doing the content. But if I'm like PvPing against opponents that are anything above decent, like it's like, okay, I'll get back to chat after the game. I can't do both right now.
So the original idea, and I pitched it to everyone, and then Vallun was like, "No, don't do that." I had the idea. It was called a creator clash. So I was going to have the four of us join up in game and do a PvP match, and we would go in and we would talk about Guild Wars 2 topics while not dying in PvP. And like Vallun was like,
so AFK and spawn. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
Vallun,
I could just do that after dying.
Vallun was funny because he was like, "Yeah, no, this ain't it, fam." And I'm like, "All right, maybe you got something. Okay, that's fine."
Yeah, I when you told me that, I remember responding. I was like, dude, I would be happy to do a conversation with you. I'm not confident I can do both of those things at the same time.
There's times where I will straight skip my entire chat for like 5-10 minutes to be able, and then I come back and I'm just like, all right, I'm scrolling up. What did I miss? Oh, that was a funny joke I missed 18 minutes ago. Oh, that's so cool.
Negligent dad.
Yeah. Hey, the kids are asleep. That's all I care about. I'm trying to present a fun show for everyone, and the lacking of dad jokes is never there. Muck, I'm actually surprised that you don't have a few under your belt ready to fire, holstered on your hips.
What, negligent dad jokes?
Yes.
I'm always ready.
Negligent dad. Oh well, you joined a podcast with me. There you go.
The thing is, like, you need your chat to kind of like make your own content. Like, you just need them to be like really creative people, and then you just repeat what they say.
Oh yeah, it's like when you say like a good
90%.
joke on Twitter and it's got like 50 updates and you just retweet it and you're like, it's so me, and you get 100 updates. You're just like that guy in school that just like repeated the joke a little louder. One person hates you, but everyone else loves you.
All right, Hat, write that one down. That's a good one. We got to learn from these guys. All right, come on, pick it up, buddy.
Steals.
Got it. No, it's not stealing. It's creative freedom. Is what it is.
It's transformative art.
Ooh, I like that.
It's inspiration.
Inspiration. You actually have to say that nowadays. You actually have to say it's like a creative transformation. Getting back to obviously why we're here. We all create content around Guild Wars 2. And I'm coming up on 1 year of solid content creation for it. Hat, how long have you been making content for Guild Wars 2?
For Guild Wars, I actually just hit my 1 year mark on YouTube the other day, so probably 8 months, I'd guess, something like that.
All right, very good. Vallun and Muck, you guys have been here since the start. You guys were former ArenaNet partner or former ArenaNet employees. There we go. That's what I meant to say.
What? There was so many things wrong with that sentence.
Trying to push the envelope that you understand.
You pushed the envelope off a cliff.
All right, that's fair. But
so there are some ANET partners that became employees, but just for the impressionable chat, I am not one. Pretty sure Vallun's never been one. I've been a content creator for 3 years.
Vallun, any follow-up? Any rebuttal against these accusations?
Definitely not an ArenaNet employee. I am an ArenaNet partner.
Okay.
Not to be confused.
Not to be confused.
Now, Roy Roy, who also has a sultry, seductive voice like Vallun. Common misconception, confusing them. Roy just recently became an employee there and was a partner for a long time.
Can't say I've seen that confusion yet, but I can see it.
So you guys are saying your paycheck?
It's obvious from the outside looking in.
Had said something about the paycheck. Paycheck is it's on its way. Don't worry, folks. All right, guys, it's confirmed here on the stream that they are not, in fact, employees. All right, everyone, relax. All three people watching my
podcast, though, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna cut to a commercial. Hey, so what I actually do want to bring up, obviously, because I was thinking about like the four of us being here and talking about it, because Hat and I are still relatively new to this area, this spectrum, and I would say, in that sense, we probably don't have as many hills up and down, however you wish to call it, with all the balance changes as far as Guild Wars 2 is concerned. Now, there have been a handful that have been pretty controversial, we'll say, in the past like 5-6 months. I bring up like Banner Warrior being changed, and that's kind of where I want to start the conversation, is talking about the current state of endgame here in Guild Wars 2 as far as balancing is concerned. Initially, what are your thoughts on the most recent changes? Specifically speaking about like the updates for the older professions, or basically the Heart of Thorns professions and the core professions.
Alan, you want to go first?
The PvE one?
Yeah,
PvE only.
We'll talk about PvE, and then that we of course do have to talk PvP. Most of my audience is PvP anyway, so go ahead.
Well, I guess I'll just start. They recently did the huge like Pve buff, and apparently a lot of people like this change, which is just, in my opinion, needless power creep. But the boss is not going to complain on the forums about you using overpowered stuff. So generally people like when PvE buffs happen, because they like when they can do more damage. But before they didn't like the changes right with the Banner Warrior, because it was a nerf to their class. And usually, as I said, people like when PvE gets buffed. And then, in PvP, when things don't get nerfed that are overpowered, then people they get upset. So I think the changes that they made are probably going to go off pretty well no matter what, because it fits the agenda of that game mode player base. Pretty much, yeah, that's it.
Okay, Muck, do you have a follow-up? Because honestly, I saw you cackling like a madman. I'm curious.
I love how blunt Vallun can be. It is a positive character trait. No, I would have maybe put a little more sugar on the words, but I agree with what he said. I am overall pretty happy with the state of things. I mentioned that I've been here for 3 years, not the full 10. However, the first year was the end of a, years-long cycle where I think the player base kind of felt neglected. Like an update would happen like every 6 months. Like if an update happened and then some class became like just busted in PvP, like that class was busted for like the next 6 months, because they went so long between patches. And then all of a sudden it's like, we're making a new expansion, we're doing more consistent updates. Sometimes they've made the wrong decisions, like when they're like, we're going to do this to warriors, and everyone's like, please don't, it'll kill it. And then they did it, and then they killed it for a month, and then shocked Pikachu face. But then, recently it seems like they've come back from that and fixed that. So like over, compared to like the full 3 years that I've been doing this, I'm pretty happy with how things are now. Changes that have happened in that amount of time. Like originally, you wanted alacrity, you had to have a chrono in your group. Now, I think 7 or 8 of the 9 classes have some build that can provide alacrity. Like we've got a lot of diversity in the builds, and yes, there's absolutely been power creep, and that will have to be addressed at some point, because like the players that know what they're doing, the bosses aren't getting any stronger. That's one of the things of this game that is a perk, is like the raids. If they were a challenge once, they should still be a challenge now, because they don't add in like higher level gear. They don't add raise the level cap or anything like that.
Like what Warcraft does.
Exactly. You know, we don't go back and solo Kael'thas in this, unless you're like Lord Hyzen. So if they don't do that, every time they do power creep, then these fights against the raid bosses just get shorter and shorter and shorter. The answer to that is to someday do some sort of like squish to our numbers or to buff the bosses, which either one is not usually, you know, received well. I totally agree with Vallun about
They
that.
did buff the world bosses, the new ones, or not the new ones, but the
The four,
Star
yeah,
Zone
like
ones.
Jungle Worm
Yeah,
and
the
stuff like
early
that.
level ones, yeah.
Yeah, they gave them
I
new
actually tried
textures
those
and they
out.
gave them each some new mechanics. I like that. I think that was a good change. Like Fire Elemental has a mechanic that you have to jump over the shockwave, and when you fail, dude, I feel like it's just slapping me in the face. Like if I'm talking to chat and I get hit by a shockwave and the little tutorial pops up, it's like, do you need to learn to jump? And I was like, oh, muck you. I get so mad when that happens. It's like getting shot by the Dreamer in PvP. It's just salt in the wound. But yeah, I think that's good for the game. But as far as like if we're talking about like raid bosses and stuff, then yeah, power creep is something that'll have to be addressed at some point.
Well, and actually, before I get on to that topic, I do want to give Hat a space to go ahead and speak. Hat, do you have any thoughts on this? Any opinion?
Handful of thoughts. So I played WoW pretty high end, what, 15 years ago at this point. And I used to complain about the same thing. I was like, oh, this balance is odd. Like this, this class is super overpowered now, then this class is super overpowered. I played a Ret Pally and Wrath of the Lich King, so it was like, oh, I'm the king of anything, no matter what. And I really sat there and started thinking, I was like, this billion-dollar company can't figure out how to balance their classes to make sure that they're all like equal, like doing enough DPS with each other. And then I started to realize, I was like, wait a second. They change it every month so that somebody else is more powerful than the other. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, you could call me, say I've got a tinfoil hat or whatever, but like they're making different classes more powerful at different times so that it keeps it unique and keeps it, constantly like different. On the flip side, as far as Guild Wars 2, one of the things I told myself was like I wasn't really going to care, I guess, about the balance of the game. I was just going to play what I felt was fun. Until recently, I actually downloaded the Arc DPS just out of pure curiosity. I was like, hey, you know what? Let's see what my DPS is compared to other people. And like, I feel like I'm a pretty good firebrand. And I was playing earlier where I was just managing like 17k DPS on a strike mission. And there's a Mechanist in the corner that's just popping out like 31k. And I was like, excuse you? Like, what is going on? I was like, that's not even close. And so this was today. I pulled up, was it Meta Battle? I was like, hey, let's find a power Mechanist build, figured out, put through all the stuff on my Mechanist, and went outside, and it was like I had a meat grinder on us through everything in open world. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I love my Mechanist, but it is like really close to the top DPS builds, while at the same time being insanely easy to play.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to do anything more about that than what they already have or not.
Well, that's the thing. You were saying how you thought the balance was bad, and then you realized that the devs might have a different agenda. They do know how to balance. They balance for exactly what they want to balance for. Maybe it's not for your agenda. And when you yourself, you installed that DPS meter, that's not really what they're balancing the game for. They're balancing the game so that everyone can play with generally what class they want to play for. And when you're putting in that DPS meter, you're immediately skewing things because you're creating, a meta, which the game is not balanced for. And I think that this is just an opinion of mine, but I think that the game, if ArenaNet puts their own DPS meter in the game, they'll balance for it. But as it is right now, it's a third-party thing. So you really shouldn't be putting yourself to that kind of standard.
So, and that's actually a wonderful point, because I think for a whole, we'll say, it is good for accessibility across the board for someone who might join in now, who just bought for End of Dragons and was like, all right, cool. Oh, wow, Elementalist. The Tempest looks really cool. You get a Warhorn and you can scream at people and they die. That's awesome. I want to go and play that. And it's like, well, you're kind of pigeonholed with what you were doing. And that's one thing that I've expressed I love about Guild Wars 2 is that, and capitalizing on your thought, I can go and play basically whatever I want in open world. I don't have to follow a certain meta. Now, of course, in every game, there's going to be a meta of things that do well and things that don't do well. And it's kind of like you pick your poison. If you want to play this thing, it's balanced this way. And Vallun had an amazing point on the idea of it not always being to your agenda. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know about arc DPS until probably like 4 or 5 months of like steady play into the game. And I didn't know that it didn't. Now, obviously, I came from a WoW background, so of course we had, DPS meters. I had SCADA, and that was mine. But coming into this game now and understanding that the game wasn't really designed for you to be tracking your DPS, it wasn't really designed that way, and you have to get it from a third party. That's a decent point of. I don't want to say defense of why ArenaNet balanced that particular way, but that does make you say, yeah, okay, I can kind of understand it now.
I would say for me, two points I wanted to touch on. Hat mentioned like the tin hat thing, where like they constantly make one group overpowered and kind of cycle it to do things. It's possible. I remember there was just like because I also played WoW. I played it for 10 years. We did endgame stuff. I led a couple of server first. And I remember there was a lot of outcry when people found out that the guy that did the warrior class balance was also the same guy that did the mage class balance. And mage had been a hard counter to warrior for like 10 years. And there was, oh my god, the warriors. They were rioting on the forums.
Wait, are you talking like what era? Was that like Burning Crusade or Wrath? Because I think I remember
what
that.
era doesn't
like,
mage count?
All encompassing. I mean, just Frostbolt spam. Frostbolt, like, it was... You think about it, it was multiple expansions in before they got Spell Reflect and stuff like that, and even then they struggled. Like Mage was like almost always, at least while I was playing it, the counter to Warrior. But the other thing I was going to say is about DPS meters. Hat was talking about his experience where he was a firebrand, and then the Mechanist was like out DPSing him really hard. Like if I could wish upon a star here. The way I would like to see class balance done is, if a class brings utility, it does less damage. And Firebrand, even if you're spec'd for full damage because of the tomes and stuff, you have a lot of utility. Like, so much utility. Like, a Weaver that has 0 utility at all. I feel like with all they give up, like they have just a couple of builds, they go all in on those builds, they sacrifice everything else to do big damage, and then sometimes the Firebrands do the same damage while also being able to provide almost nearly every boon in the game, while also having multiple sources of stability, the ability to block projectiles, reflect them for the entire raid, making them very useful for Worldview World, Matthias, raid bosses like that. Like, there is just so much that they can do. I think it would be completely fair to half the Firebrand's damage or more compared to the other people. Now, I don't think that's how the balance is done. I'm just talking about what I think would be fair in the general sense.
I agree with you, but to be able to play a Firebrand to the point where you can use all of that utility and still do decent damage, it can kind of be compared to like Paladins in Classic WoW, where they were really weak because they had all that utility, because they were balanced toward their utility, right? Like you had Lay on Hands, you had all this utility as a DPS, whereas if you're just like a rogue or a warrior, you can't really heal your teammates. So they had more damage at the same time. So while I agree that the utility should come at a cost of DPS, you're expecting them to use that utility too. So it's not like right or wrong, it's just like a complication to that process.
Right. I think at that point it becomes a question of, are we okay with the skill ceiling of this class having way more than the skill ceiling of this other class, that it really only applies to the top people, but somewhere in the middle it's balanced.
Yeah, and it's just what's the agenda again?
Yeah.
And I feel like, I'm sorry, Hat, I interrupted you.
I was gonna say that's fair. My biggest thing that I've maybe it's just that I'm old now, but I kind of get to the point where I'm like, you know what, man, it's a game. Like, I'm just gonna play to have fun. Like the arc DPS thing, that was me just out of pure curiosity, and I think it is actually a really cool thing that initially Guild Wars didn't include a DPS meter, because it can be kind of a like, oh, you're not doing good, you're not invited to my party type of a thing, and it could just get people out of it.
And I feel like that also kind of leans on into what type of game Guild Wars 2 I've always had the opinion of, and that is in that sense that when someone joins the game and they start playing, it's this wonderful open game that you can basically go and do whatever you want. And out of those particular things that you can do, of course, endgame is like the high tier rating. Now, granted, I haven't been drugged to any rating yet, but from what I've talked to, or the people that I've talked to who've run raid trainings, is, I mean, you can mostly muster through it with like exotic gear and certain things, but you also have to keep in mind that, you know, like for these like challenge modes and things that go into these higher tiers, there is a kind of like cadence. There's a specific group composition that makes everything significantly easier. And I mean, we saw that, of course, you know, in WoW back when, you know, certain classes were much stronger or overpowered at any given point. I mean, what's it held? Destruction Warlocks, I think, in Wrath were like untouchable for like the longest time. I mean, you see this across a lot of games, and I think as much crap as ArenaNet has been really given, and I give them crap just because, I don't know, I kind of think I'm funny. I think I am, I don't know. But I know that they're trying. I know that they're trying their best, and I know that they're doing what they can given the business model that they have and the resources that they do. So I don't know necessarily if we can harp on them too much about in-game balance.
Well, truth be told, too, I mean, think of the amount of builds you can create in this game. It's astronomical. So to sit there and say, oh, we're going to balance all of that, like that's an impossible task.
I think part of it, and I'll just sorry, I'm trying to choose my words here. So Caffeinated Dad, you mentioned that you hadn't really rated in the game, but you did do that kind of stuff in WoW. One thing I'll tell you that is a massive difference in this game from WoW rating is, like, for normal mode raids in this game, the enrage timers for almost every boss might as well not even be there. They might as well not exist. It would, like, I've had raids where, you know, like, I'll be taking newbies, 5 people die, and the other 5 of us continue fighting for another 10 to 15 minutes and kill the boss. Like, the enrage timers are like a non-issue. So, like, let's say it's just for now. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying that this is a possible thing. If you take a build off of like Snow Crows, and you're not that good at it, and you're pushing out like half the damage that it says, you're still going to absolutely annihilate the boss if everybody can pull off half of their expected damage. Now, I mean, could you do a lot better than that? Absolutely, you could. But if if everyone in your group is pulling like 10k or more, you're going to annihilate most of the normal mode raid bosses. Again, I'm saying normal mode, but I'm saying 10k or more. And then Snow Crows has builds that do 40 to 50. So it's at that point you're making the boss skip phases. Like Gorseval, one of the raid bosses in Wing 1. You can make him jump through phase transitions so quickly. There's this whole phase with like gliding and stuff. You can completely skip it if everyone's doing more than like 10 to 15k. Completely skip the phase.
Interesting.
And that just wasn't a thing in WoW. WoW, you were constantly fighting in rage timers. So in this game, it kind of allows you to not push the boundaries of damage and get away with that for years.
Okay, so it seems like it has more of an emphasis on survival, mechanics play, and then just being able to, honestly, if in that scenario where half the raid team dies, and then it's just the 5 of you just hanging on and doing what you need to, it's just...
It's absolutely if you do the mechanics right, unless your damage is just absolute dirt, you've won. And then once you get to some of the top challenge mode raid fights and also the new challenge mode strike missions, then all of a sudden damage matters, like to the extent that it mattered in WoW Mythic raiding for just those few encounters.
See, now I really do want to get in there, and I want to start I got to hit my buddy Astral Legend. He does raid trainings on Saturdays. And he's always asking me, he's like, you got to come. Just come to one, take the content, make a video, that's fine. But, like, just try it. Just try it. And, well, this might be my interest. I do want to move on. We do have another topic that actually popped up not too long ago, and it is on the thoughts of Guild Wars 3 and the potential, the quote-unquote rumors that I think it was Game Informer or IGN? One of the two did a mark. I want to say is IGN. They did a play of it potentially being done by Unity and using Unreal Engine.
They had a job offering. Is it ArenaNet or NCSoft, the people that own them? They had a job listing that they were hiring someone that was familiar with the Unity engine to be a developer project for an existing IP. And so people are praying, hoping, wishing that the existing IP is Guild Wars, which would mean Guild Wars 3, and that they're making it in that engine. That was how the rumor started.
Interesting. Hat and I have talked about this a little bit because
I'm sorry, I was corrected. It was Unreal Engine. I said it wrong.
Unreal Engine. Okay. I mean, let's be serious. I think I saw a game called Squirrel with a Gun, and that's literally the name of the game, and it has caught my attention, and I'm like, you know what? I could cough up $20. You know, I have that floating around. I could probably do it. But Vallun, I want to start with you. What are your thoughts? Because I'm ready for it to hit me like a blunt frying pan. Go.
I don't think Guild Wars 3 is going to happen, but I think what's most important to think about is the probabilities. Like, if it is a job posting for Guild Wars 3, would that be the only job posting that they would put out? I mean, that would be concerning if that's all that they're recruiting for Guild Wars 3, right? Like, that would be a huge project.
Just one dude in the corner.
I mean, they let off like a lot of their company. So they're going to work on Guild Wars 2 and Guild Wars 3 with the same amount of people. It just doesn't seem plausible. So I think they're not doing Guild Wars 3.
Gotcha. Okay. Hat, I know that you have, you said it was one guy in a corner. It's just one guy working on it by himself. It's Keith in the corner, and he's I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out, folks. I got it on its way. What are your thoughts, buddy?
I actually have experience building stuff in Unreal. So it's kind of funny.
He's the guy.
It's him.
Yeah, no. In my honest opinion, as far as Guild Wars 3 goes, I got to agree with these two that I don't think Guild Wars 3 is going to happen. Simply because if I remember correctly, the only reason they made Guild Wars 2 was because they had ideas for the game that they couldn't create in that engine itself, right? So that's why they went from Guild Wars to Guild Wars 2. I don't know. That's what I remember reading, why they ended up coming with Guild Wars 2. But as far as Unreal Engine 5 and being Guild Wars 3, I don't think it's going to happen. Even if it did, it would still be 7 years away on it at least.
I can agree with that. I could definitely see that it would take. Obviously, if we look at the rate of, the patches, the living worlds, the expansions that have come out with Guild Wars 2, just in that sense, which is, I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was recent. I looked at NCSoft's like their total profit, their profit margins, and how they were going. I would be hard pressed to believe that they would jump straight from Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 3, even after confirming, and I say confirming, another expansion. And of course, we can probably venture to guess that there's going to be a handful of living worlds that are in between there, or at least content patches that are in between that and the next expansion. And hearing their financial woes, it kind of makes me like hopeful. Don't get me wrong, like high on copium, but I don't know. Muck, do you have a thought?
I was glad to hear Vallun pointed out. So I don't remember the exact date. It was sometime after I became a content creator, so sometime in the last couple of years. But there was a time when they were basically told by their parent company to fire 100 people. Now, not all of those people were developers. But there was 100 people of their staff of like 300 people or something like that. Like a huge chunk of the Guild Wars 2 team was lost because of finances or some the decisions of the parent company. Then that team was greenlit for another expansion, and then they managed to put out the End of Dragons. Also, all their other projects were canceled. There was an unknown mobile game that they were doing that got shut down. There was lots of other stuff that they were doing. So they basically became like all their eggs were in one basket, and that basket was Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 1 is just like a toaster in the corner. They don't touch it. It just, as long as no one trips on the cord, it's fine. Guild Wars 2 though, like if it fails, they're all going down with the ship. They're putting everything into it. Now that's good for us as players that enjoy it because we're getting more content for this game we love, but they're all in on it. So knowing that they've got this smaller workforce and they're all in on this one thing, I don't think they've got the manpower to work on a Guild Wars 3 while they're also working on this next expansion that they just got greenlit. And so I don't think they've got the people for it. And 2, if they announced a new expansion and did it wrong, they would shoot themselves in the foot. I remember when EverQuest 2 was announced, EverQuest 1 immediately lost millions of subscribers because people were like, oh, well, why are we playing this one? Like, is our progress even going to matter? Because like the next one, the sequel is coming out soon, right? And they just left. Like the games, because they did a monthly subscription fee, the game just lost millions of players overnight because people just thought that their progress didn't matter anymore. So if they announce a sequel and they did it wrong, they would take a massive blow. So that I also think about that a lot with the whole EQ2 launch. Now from Guild Wars 1 to 2, they ended up doing the Hall of Monuments, where certain achievements in Guild Wars 1 gave you goodies in Guild Wars 2, which I think kind of softened the blow. But again, they're all in right now, and if they did it wrong, it would be bad.
It would, honestly, I think you have a great point, because that would be essentially the end of like whatever cash they were drawing in, whatever finances they were drawing in. I mean, you're going to have people just drop off. Now, not to mention, Guild Wars 1 with, you said it was a toaster. Keith is operating that toaster. That's also under his job umbrella. But the idea of a Guild Wars 3 potentially swinging in, and because that's actually a wonderful point, and it's a thought that I actually had, is like, how much time and effort would if I put into this game? I put like another 1,000 or 1,000 hours into this game, and then it's like, and then tomorrow it's like, oh, okay, well, the cool new one is coming out. And it's like, well, what about my time? My value as a player, it just went completely out the window if there isn't any type of like residual value that's being drawn across these games. Now, that's a fantastic point. It's going to be a hard sell, and that's also kind of like, I think NCSoft is doing Throne of Liberty or Throne in Liberty. Is that the game? Recently was just announced. Anyone correct me on that? Chat?
I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it.
I'm not familiar.
Sam, I don't know.
I've seen a handful of videos of it, and it's under the MMO. Is it Thrones and Liberty? It might be Thrones and Liberty. Yeah, and it's
that says it was something related to Lineage 3.
Lineage 3, which is of course their other established IP. With NCSoft, but I don't know if that particular, we'll say that particular article that was hinting at maybe a Guild Wars 3 or a spot there. But
to clarify, NCSoft has other titles. ArenaNet, which is under NCSoft right now, I think only has Guild Wars 2, I believe.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. And also, we're looking down the line, obviously, with Unity, and that's going to be a big undertaking. I want to be optimistic. I do. And because I love the game. The game's fun. And I still consider myself a casual, being able to log in and play anytime that I want. It's fantastic. But it's always something that kind of sits on the back of my head. What's going to happen here in the future? And the chat saying Throne and Liberty maybe was delayed. I don't know. Maybe. Any final thoughts before we move on to our next point?
Maybe this is a potential topic, but like how people overhype things. Maybe how like they always say, "Oh, if Guild Wars 3 comes back, or if Guild Wars 3 comes out, I'll come back to the Guild Wars franchise." But in reality, they won't probably, because they don't know whether that's actually going to be a better game than Guild Wars 2. I think people, they don't realize what they have while they have it. It's kind of like that, always the grass is greener in the other MMO, and they kind of like overhype things because they're just like hype beasts. Like, and perhaps Guild Wars 2 could just use more hype, and that's all it needs, and then it's a good game. Like, what issues does Guild Wars 2 have? Obviously there are plenty that couldn't just be solved by having more people in the game.
Yeah, but do those issues need a new engine?
Yeah,
Like, I think they don't.
Yeah, because I mean, the Guild Wars 2 engine, what are its limitations other than the spaghetti code? I
Right.
think there's a lot of things they can do, right? Like the whole mastery system was pretty ingenious for allowing further progression.
Past max, of course.
Yeah.
The point Vallun just made reminds me of a podcast I listened to recently from the guys that made Path of Exile, and they're in the middle of making Path of Exile 2 right now, and they talk and they're like, yeah, people that say they'll come back and try PoE 2, like they won't try PoE even if we put the same thing in it. They're just waiting for the number 2. And the guy doing the interview was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, I asked one of these people, and they're like, hey, are you gonna try PoE 2? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks nice." And they're like, would you try the new PoE League? And they're like, oh no, I tried PoE before. I didn't like it. And they're like, oh, well, could you tell me what you didn't like about it? And they're like, well, the rubber banding was really bad. And the guy's like, we fixed that 8 years ago. So it's just like, they're just thinking, oh, well, this newer one, like Vallun said, the grass is greener. This newer, shinier one with a new number is going to fix all the things that I had problems with, even if some of those have been tackled already.
And actually, I do want to hark actually to Hat's video that actually just came out, yesterday, which you were talking about like the top 10 MMOs and their active player bases. And I think, what'd you rank? Guild Wars 2 was like 9th out of that 10.
Yeah, it was about number 9 on that list.
And I mean, and I did want to actually circle back to Vallun's point specifically on hype factor. Specifically, so when I initially stopped streaming, I actually used to stream on Twitch, streamed my World of Warcraft rating, and it was literally the same thing every Tuesday. That's all I did. And I stepped away, and that's when, Blizzard came out. Blizzard are the bad guys, and, there's bad people there, all this up and down, all that hype and stuff. I specifically remember that there was this mass exodus straight to Final Fantasy. Why? Is because it seemed like there was a lot more people. There was a larger player base right over there, and there's a lot of people, and it's a vibrant game, and it's exploding. There's so many people, you can never run out of it. And admittedly, I kind of was curious of trying out Final Fantasy as well, just because it's like, well, what's all this hype behind it? I mean, I don't know how many times, we've seen videos like where it's like a transition from one MMO to another, specifically about Guild Wars 2. I'm guilty of it. I made that. That was literally my first video. It was like talking about, don't miss out on this great game. And I feel like no matter the amount of hype that we, like, as content creators can try to drum up, I feel like it's always going to be met with this, like, misconceived notion that Guild Wars 2 is, it's a dead game. It's barely hanging on. It's not even surviving.
You'll hear the line a lot in like Guild Wars 2 kind of like situations. Oh, people still play that game? I hear that all the time.
I mean, if you don't advertise it much, which ArenaNet was guilty of for many, many years, it just kind of fades from memory, and then you hear about it, and you're like, "Oh, is that game still on? Yeah, I remember that. That was from like 10 years ago, wasn't it?" Yeah,
they're not saying it maliciously; they're just kind of doing it out of ignorance,
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, okay.
I mean, it's hard to fault them because, again, I mean, that comes down to years of no advertising.
That was actually, ironically, my exact experience when I came back to Guild Wars about 1.5 years ago. Because I played at launch and played for a year or two. And then, 2020-ish, COVID hit. And I was like, let's check out some games I haven't played in a while. And I was like, oh, that's right. I played Guild Wars. I was like, oh, they've had 2 expansions. I didn't even know. Like, I didn't hear a word about that, but it's cool. Let's check it out.
It's a tough one to get right, specifically given their type of we'll say their income model, obviously with like the in-game gem store and the expansions and the game itself, just buy once, play forever, and it's hard to have that steady revenue, and which you would think would translate into other factors being like implemented, like we're talking marketing, we're talking new content, all the bells and whistles that you would see. And of course, Guild Wars 2 has made it this far without doing any of that. So that is, of course, a testament in and of itself of an MMO being able to last that long without the need of subscription. That's impressive. But it's something that I actually kind of had like the thought of. It's like, I enjoy the game. I love the game. And obviously, I would expect all, the rest of you guys. I don't know, Muck plays this game for 4 years consecutive or 3 years consecutively.
I hate it.
Strong mixed feelings about it. No, it's and Vallun, I know you and I have talked about it a number of times when I've pestered you on your stream. You can't block me. I have too many accounts. And you were
That's not a flex, that's a threat.
Yeah.
It's okay. Highly caffeinated. What was it? I'm sorry.
Said I
Does
need
that
to
make
go.
it okay?
All right, so the chat thought
It's
it was
okay.
fine.
You're
It's okay.
far from that threshold.
All right, well, I appreciate that, but I think that there is a way that that Guild Wars 2 does survive. It does move on, and I won't rule out completely the thought of Guild Wars 3, but I can't imagine it being anytime soon. Flex threat, chat said it's a flex threat. So in that kind of cycle, I do want to move on to the next kind of topic, and that pairs off of us being content creators. Muck and Vallun, you guys both do this full time, and Hat and I don't want to speak for Hat, but I personally am trying to get to that point where this is my full time job. I go ahead and yell at people in video games all day, and that's great. I'm not actually sure what a full time content creator does. I assume there's yelling in it, but I want to ask, as content creators and where you guys are, where do you see your future here soon? And I'll leave it to the floor. First one speaks up, gets it. Where do you see your future, either here within the game, in the future of content? What are your thoughts?
Not it.
I guess I'll go. I
God,
think
you sound like I just shoved him under the bus.
It's like, cool, I appreciate it.
I
Vallun, we
think
love you,
variety
man.
content is probably if Steam doesn't like improve the Twitch drop doesn't improve the viability of being a content creator of solely Guild Wars 2 drastically, then you gotta hedge your bets, go to a little bit more variety. I've been trying out some variety too. I think also is just like one thing that Guild Wars 2 creators need to do is they need to advertise their content as general gaming content and doing like short videos like, I got killed by this mob, and like you don't say in Guild Wars 2, or you don't say something that is only specific to Guild Wars 2 players, but kind of like the thing that you realize that gamers actually enjoy more is just watching like react content. They just like hearing someone like say a story about something. And if you can make your content more story driven, you'll see this with like a lot of content creators who aren't Guild Wars 2 related, but they come to Guild Wars 2 and make one video. They have really good storytelling, and that's kind of like what people are drawn to more often. I think that's something I need to improve on as well, is just making my content not just about, oh, you want this specific thing in Guild Wars 2, well then here's how you get it. More like, well, people have this need for, I don't know, to figure out how to beat this one boss or whatever, but I'm going to provide it to them within a story, right? That's entertaining. And I think that's probably what we all need to do better, probably, but especially something that I'm going to be working on.
No, I mean, I think you bring up a fantastic point. I don't think as any content creator with any specific game that you can I mean, obviously you can be successful, you two obviously being, prime examples of almost solely focusing on one game. But I know that I'm sure that you have, and I think all of us here have experienced some type of burnout thinking about working with and just doing one specific game.
Yep.
Yeah, and Muck, I know you've been pretty vocal about like how after a while you're like, guys, I just need to chill for a minute. Like this is getting a bit ridiculous.
Well, yeah, like because on top of the fact that I stream this game every time I stream, there was that I stream every day, and that's my own decision. That's my own decision. And honestly, I'm surprised at how much I kind of fell in love with this game after I played 10 years of WoW. I thought like the ability to get that into another MMO, that much into another MMO was burned out of me. But then I got really into this game. I streamed it every day for like 2 or 3 years, every night, every single day. And then I also put out, all those guides and stuff like that. And then there just came a day, and I remember the day I had a bad night in PvP. It was just like I ran into the most toxic of people, like teabag, like my own team AFK and stuff like that. And I was like, guys, I need to step away from this game. I love this game. I need to step away. I don't even want to look at it right now. And then, for the next few days, my numbers on Twitch tanked because I was playing other games. I had like half the audience. It happened. But that was when I started the second YouTube channel that you asked me about earlier. I started trying to branch out. I very much live by the rule, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's like right now, you've pointed out the full-time content creation. Like, I pay my bills, but with income that I get from Twitch, from YouTube, from referral links for tons of different products, from the occasional sponsorship when I'm lucky enough to land one. I don't get them always, but when they happen, it's a nice bonus to, that month's pay. Stuff like that. By the way, exclamation HelloFresh in the chat. Stuff like that.
Excellent adverb. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah,
that was so smooth.
One-stop shop for food delivered directly to your door, and with no shipping, you can get. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I won't do that to you guys. I'm advertising on 4 channels right now. But anyway, like let's say you have a month where like Twitch is doing bad. I still have all those other things. Or if I have a month where YouTube, like right now, right this second, this is the time of year when YouTube pays the least. So, but I'm doing okay because I get income from various platforms. Oh yeah, Nexus is another one. I got a lot of like anytime you can see an opportunity to make another revenue stream, whatever it is, putting this podcast up on some website where you might get some money if people listen to it. I don't even know how that works. I've never done podcasts before.
Anchor FM.
Yeah, so anything like that you can capitalize on, even if it just starts off bringing in just like a few bucks a month, it could grow, right? So yeah, anything like that is fantastic. But I'm very much at that time and since then, I've become a believer in trying to be a successful content creator, not just a successful content creator for Guild Wars 2. Like, if Guild Wars 2, I don't know, for some insane reason, they turned off the servers tomorrow, I'd be okay. It would hurt. It would suck. But I would survive. I've been branching out over the past year, I think over the past year, I only know this because a sponsor told me. They're like, we really like your content because even when you play other games, you still have like 2/3 of your audience shows up. And we've seen you do that with over 72 games. I was like, 72? And they're like, yeah, that's how many different games you played in the last year. And I was like, I've played 72 games in the last year? And they're like, you're Muckluck, right? And I was like, no, I just didn't realize. Like, they thought I was lying all of a sudden. But
it's like they were tracking you every time. It's like, there's another one for Muckluck.
Yeah, they just go into hackthisguystats.com and they pull that stuff up before they even get on the phone with you. But it's very important to have something to fall back. If you think of like every successful major streamer, they got big off one game and then they were able to do whatever they wanted. Like Asmongold got big off of WoW. Now he could go fail in Dark Souls for 12 hours. He's still going to have thousands of viewers.
12K. Like, he was on earlier. He had 12K viewers and he was just chatting. Right. It was just him talking.
But that to me is one of the highest compliments, is when people still want to show up and watch me when I'm playing something other than Guild Wars 2. Like, I still love Guild Wars 2, but I've got lots of other games that I've been enjoying at the same time.
I think the term you guys are all getting at is branding.
Yep.
Also true.
All right, Hat, I kick it over to you. Let's hear it. Go.
I'm kind of the odd one out in this situation, I guess, simply because I do work 50 hours a week on my normal job and have like my own career and everything, which I felt like I've been pretty successful in. I haven't made a dime from YouTube at all, and that's all I've done. It's literally just been for fun. I'm one of those guys who just kind of says, you know what, I'm gonna make my money at my work, and then I'm gonna have fun afterwards. And so, like, video editing is something I've been really, really passionate about. I've really enjoyed it. Would I like to do this as a full-time thing? You know, if it really blew up or something, and I really was able to survive off of it, then absolutely. Then it's way more fun than my normal job. I'll just be honest with that. But acting like an idiot on the camera and like jump cutting constantly, like, that's amazing. But as of right now, like, I really do mean it. Like, I haven't made a dime. So like,
That's not what it's like.
yeah.
It was like that for my first year. The first year I was doing it, I worked tech support all day, and then I streamed like 2 or 3 hours at night, and occasionally made videos. And I wasn't making anything; it was just for fun. And then I was like, you know, if it blows up, that'd be sweet. But if it doesn't, you know, it's a hobby. And in my case, I got lucky.
Oh, that's fair. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I'm like, it is a hobby. Like, I don't know. I guess I could put a lot more energy into it if I wanted to. Like, I could drop $2,000 on a green screen, or not $2,000, $200 on a green screen behind me. Yeah, really high end Kevlar. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just what I do is I'll play a video game. It doesn't even have to be Guild Wars 2, and I'll just have an idea of something funny, and then I'll be like, "That'd be a funny video," like. And then I just go and make it, and that's really it. And so, like, I wish I had a schedule as regimented as you guys, where I was as dedicated, but it's really not. Like, I work and I have my family, and
mine's more of an addiction.
No, they're fair. Yeah, well, you know, if you want this to be
I don't recommend doing exactly what I do to anybody.
Every time I hear it, like, I joke and I'm like, look, I only have, you know, I stream, I think, like 4 hours a week, you know, a Monday and then a Thursday, and I just do some PvP or do something silly, and we get some people from the guild. Okay, have some fun. That's my fun time. What you guys are watching is my actual, just like, fun time. And then I hear Muck, and he's like, oh yeah, I stream 5 hours a day every day for the past 4 years. And I'm like, good God, man, simmer down. Oh.
The first year when I was still working, you know, a normie job, it was like 2-3 hours tops each evening, and my kid was 6, so at the time he went to bed between like 7 and 8 o'clock, and then, you know, sometime after that is when I think I streamed from 9 to midnight at first. That was when I started, so I wasn't like bothering anybody else at that time.
I mean, that's the whole reason I drug you guys out this late at night, for this particular reason.
Right.
And like, I mean, Hat the other day, him and I, we did that collab PvP video, and we were supposed to meet, like, I think it was at like 9 o'clock, and I made you wait until like 10:30 because my 2-year-old, who is just an angry ball of me, decided that she wanted to stay up, and she's yelling and screaming, and I'm messaging him. He's like, no, it's fine, it's cool. And it's like, no, seriously, I need help. Please send help.
Well, I guess fortunate for me, I don't know. I think you're on the East Coast. I'm in Midwest, so it's, you know, super late for you, and it's still okay for me.
Fair enough. I want to tag on that point because you guys all hit on very specific things. Like Vallun, I know you kind of just tossed it in there at the end, but branding is something that I have leaned into hard in the past like 2 or 3 months. Like trying to put that logo that Hat said my logo looked like a steaming pile of crap, which I didn't think of it until I actually looked at it. I was like, oh, okay, you know.
I mean, I didn't say it until you said it, so, but okay.
There's a whole video. My sister actually pulled me aside. She was very supportive, and then she was like, you know, like, I really love your stuff. You're having fun. You're doing great, but your logo looks like a turd. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, no, look at it. And I was like, I'm looking at it. I look at it every day. I love my logo. She goes, no, it looks like poo. And now I can't go anywhere. She goes, the poop gaining channel. Anyway, I understand your guys' point.
No one's ever gonna let that die. That's not a story you tell on stream.
Oh no,
everyone's gonna know you as that.
Is the poop logo? Hey, you know what?
No, the poop gaming channel.
the poop gaming channel. Rebranding coming in.
It's like a Caffeinated Dad. Who? Poop Gaming. Oh yeah, okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
What did Poop say?
His video was great. Did you see it? Oh, look, Poop Game. Oh, that's not his name, huh? You should change
This is
that.
how you make it, the Poop Gamer.
Caffeinated poo. Hey, it does what
You
it
should
does.
play Cult of the Lamb. There's poop in that game.
Is it really? I saw like a bunch of people on Twitter talking about that, and I don't know. I've been disconnected. Anyway, long going off on a tangent. Damn it. But Vallun has a wonderful point, leaning into the branding, and then Monk, I actually love your point because it's kind of actually how I view like any type of like investing or stocks. You never throw all of your money into one specific thing. You know, like you might really like, you know, Bill Gates and Microsoft. Don't throw, you know, $100 if that's all you got right in there. Spread it out a little. And that's kind of a wonderful point to other content creators who may actually be watching here, is that diversify, get out there, try a bunch of different things. And rounding it out, you spoke to it because you make videos and content on things that you actually enjoy. Go figure. You want to, because if you make a video on things that it's just you feel obligated to do, then it becomes like it's almost like work. Like I don't want to, you know, at the end of the day, working my real job, working 50 hours a week, and then go and sit down and work some more on something that I'm not enthused about, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's actually why I quit WoW way back in the days, because I would get off work and then I'd go sit down at WoW, and the guild I was in was, you know, like top 25 US. We got to remain that. And I was like, oh gosh. And so it's just like, you have to play 4 hours a night. You have to farm all this crap. And so like, I realized once it wasn't fun, I was like, this is a game. Like, I'm not enjoying it. I'm working now, but I'm not even being paid. So
you're paying them. That's how bad
yeah,
it is.
exactly.
What kind of
I've
stock?
been there at our nerd peak. We were streaming, or it's not streaming. Oh god, we were raiding, trying to get server first. So we were doing 16 raid hours per week. It was four hours a day, 4 days a week, and I didn't have a kid at the time. It was like a part-time job. Now at the time, I loved it, but I have no desire to do that again.
No, I'm so far out of it. And we kind of touched on it. I do want to move along for at least the viewers. I mean, we could sit here and chat about, you know, the old days. God, I sound like I'm like an aging dad. No, I guess that's on brand. You know, oh, dad's talking about his old games again. You'll
be the poop grandpa soon.
Poop grandpa. We're trying to keep this PG because I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's audience. There's a couple of colorful words that I'll put to it, and I'll just say Poop Grandpa, and that'll be the brand name. Put it on there. Mark it. The other games that you guys get into, Muck, you mentioned Cult of the Lamb. Vallun has played Elden Ring. I saw your video on it. I loved it because I felt very similar the same way. It's just like getting slapped around. Hat, I'll start off with you. Oh, everyone found the poop logo. Okay, we have a poop emoji now. Hat, what other games are you trying out? What other games are you playing?
Currently?
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been giving Final Fantasy 14 a shot right now, just because I actually have some coworkers at work that play it and just talk how great it is. And I'm pushing myself through because I'm like, there's got to be more good about this. I like these guys at work and they all like this game. And the more I get into it, I'm like, the story's good, but the combat just reminds me of WoW, and it's just tab targeting.
Everyone I've talked to about that game has told me it gets so much better later on. I did the first 10 hours and I had to put it down. It felt like I was just spamming Frostbolt on a mage 10 years ago.
Okay, yeah, like 1 2 2 1 2 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just running back and forth between fetch quest NPCs.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's exactly where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I got
Supposedly it is amazing 100 hours and $100 in, but I didn't get there.
Yeah, on the flip side, outside of MMOs though, I'm a huge just RPG fan. So like Divinity Original Sin 2, fantastic game. Red
That was
Dead
the first game I
2.
streamed.
Oh, no kidding. It's actually, that was one of the first games I made a video about, just practicing video editing. Phenomenal game, everybody that's watching, if you haven't ever played Divinity 2 Original Sin. Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out next year.
Mm-hmm.
Already bought it. Stoked for that. But I've actually been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2 when I'm not playing Guild Wars. So
Fantastic. I know that there was a huge. I've actually viewed again, a slight stalkerish. I've watched a bunch of your videos on Red Dead, and I just you carry the commentating and essentially the way that you handle yourself in Guild Wars 2 videos. Like that was present right there in the Red Dead. That was fantastic. I just love to see that type of consistency. You just tried it in a different format and it blew up. Way to go! I love it. I love seeing that. Vallun, what about you? I know obviously Elden Ring is the game most recently, but do you have any other games that you've been kicking around?
I was thinking of doing Baldur's Gate 3 content when that comes out, but as of right now, I haven't really decided. I think I wanted to try Mass Effect because I never played that, but
Great
I don't really know. I like to do RPGs. I don't really like to do multiple MMORPGs at the same time. When I played Wrath of the Lich King in retail, I had like 5 alts that I would raid on, and that was
Wow.
painful. So
Impressive.
yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Wow. Even when I was server firsting, I only played one dude, and that was taxing.
Yeah, so I might go back to Divinity Original Sin because I never actually made a video on that. I feel like it'd be cool because like sometimes people ask you, "Hey, what do you think of this game?" Or like, what other games do you play?" And then I have to like explain to them, "Oh yeah, I really like Divinity Original Sin," and then they have to go further and interrogate me. So like when people ask me about Elden Ring, I got a video. So maybe I'll go back and do like a video for Divinity, but then I gotta play it again. I played that game a lot, by the way, so it's hard for me to like create a more genuine experience of it. It's kind of like Guild Wars 2 for me at this point, Divinity, because I have so much experience just playing the game over and over. And like people will a lot of times they'll try to like backseat you. And I feel like when people try to backseat me in Guild Wars 2, it's like, do you know who I am?
You don't have the authority to speak to me.
I tried when I tried Elden Ring on my stream that first time, and I had about my average audience and about the average amount, but I had like 2 or 3 people in there who were like, because I put in there, I'm obviously a noob in an Elden Ring game to Dark Souls as well, like this Souls-like game. I had like one guy and he was just like, make that left, but the stream is delayed. So it's like he'll say, make that left. So I make, a right and then I make a left. And then he'll be like, go down that hall. And it's like, well, I jumped off the cliff and then went down the hall. And then he was like, you're frustrating me. And I was like, dude, you can watch another channel. Like I'm trying to be respectful, but you're not helping. Backseat gaming. I love it. Love to see it. Now, Mock, of course, I want to bounce this off to you, and I just asked for time sensitive. Let's keep the list of 72 games down to, a couple that you'd recommend.
Yeah. So I mentioned I've tried to branch out into variety. There's only a few games I've made guides for, but no matter what game I'm playing, if an entertaining moment happens, like something funny, or I get scared or something like that, I always save those clips, and then whenever I get enough clips, I'll make like kind of like a funny moment compilation, stuff like that. I've got a ton of those on my channel, just whenever my clip folder gets full. So you could totally use content no matter what game you're playing, but use clips and stuff from no matter what game you're playing. But I've only had the success with guides that I've had in Guild Wars 2 so far. Hopefully someday I'll branch out more on that. I just finished. I beat Cult of the Lamb last night. I'm currently the only other side game I have not yet finished that I'm playing is King Arthur Knight's Tale, which coincidentally I've been telling people, it plays kind of like a mix of Divinity Original Sin 2 mixed with XCOM. It's been a very interesting title. You might like it. But I'm in the middle of that. However, the top 2 games that I've played in the last year, hands down, are the Riftbreaker, which is kind of a mix of RTS, tower defense, and also an ARPG at the same time, and yet they nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Last Epoch, which is an action RPG, similar to Diablo or the Exile, but it's made by a really small company. It's in early access right now, but I played it and absolutely loved it. You know, it's an action RPG. You've got like, you know, 6 slots on your skill bar at the bottom. You put skills there, but every single skill has a talent tree. I think like our specialization tree in Guild Wars 2, like there's a handful of options, but not like an overwhelming amount of them. There's like something like that, but for every single skill you put on your bar. So the customization was very high, and I love me some customization. The more I can, you know, tweak with something and make it kind of feel like, you know, my own, I love it. So those are the top 2 I've played this year.
It's funny too, is because even before I started making stuff, and I mentioned that on Twitter too, is because I talked about the Rift Breaker way back when I think it was before they even got into. I haven't kept up. Are they in beta or is the game full release?
Well, it's been in full release. They just released their first expansion, Metal Terror, very recently.
Okay, all right. I want to say it was about a little over a year ago. They had it was just like the kind of like taste, enjoy the game for like it was only a couple of missions or something like that. And I jokingly, obviously coming from, you know, the Blizzard background, I was like, it's a mix between like a game. It looked like it was going to be a mix of a game between like StarCraft 2 and, you know, like Diablo 3, and you just mash it together, except it's sci-fi and there's like Zerglings, but they're not Zerglings, and it's
you're not wrong on any of that.
It was like one of those games that I was, you know, before I got down into where I went. I was really watching. That game looks good, and
it also, I don't know if it works on YouTube or not, but it has amazing Twitch integration.
I
like
did hear that.
Every couple of minutes, it'll pop up and ask chat to vote, and it'll be like, give him money, steal his money, make a comet hit him, but if he survives, there's resources in the rubble of the comet, do an earthquake, make the next attack bigger. And if they vote to make an attack bigger, imagine like 1,000 Zerglings come at your base, but every Zergling has the name of someone in chat above it. They love that crap. You know, they'll be screaming stuff like, "Yeah, oh, Flu Girl took out his power plant." I'm like, "Dang it, Flu Girl!" You know, they eat it up. They love it.
That right there is probably one of the next stages of gaming. That right there, in and of itself, especially streaming and gaming, and it sounds like Riftbreaker has nailed it. It sounds like they've done a fantastic job. Personally, for me, I actually go a slightly different route. Of course, I tried Elden Ring not too long ago, but the game that I initially started making YouTube content for, and you can go watch my first like couple of videos, it's just me telling terrible dad jokes with no single, you know, really good edited cut. It's like there's like a pause of about like 5 seconds of heavy breathing before I go into the next sentence. It's really bad, but was Northgard. Northgard is it's like a survival RTS game made by Shiro Games. They're a fantastic, smaller company, indie company, but they're growing. They came out with a bunch of new titles. They sponsored the Dune Spice Wars RTS that came out not too long ago. They had a game called War Tales. I mean, it's a company that is, you know, really responsive, really just cool to work with. But then on top of that, their games have held up. Like Northgard's been out since like 2018, and it's still constantly getting new content. Like they just announced another expansion not too long ago. They have new clans for it. Those type of games I like. Now, I've run into the issue, of course, is the time commitment, because each one of the matches could take anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It's not a fast game. Like, you sit there and you're basically seated for, you know, I want to say, I was trying to make a pizza joke, but it's not there. For a while. You're going to sit there for a while. Enough about that. I do want to move on because it's kind of like a joke question. It's actually the last question that I have for this evening. What is your most disliked profession? What is your most hated profession in Guild Wars 2? I'm curious. What's the profession that you just absolutely don't want anything to do with?
Ranger.
Really?
You're not a tail swipe enjoyer, Vallun?
It's more of the Sikkim that I don't like.
I'm not a fan of it either. The idea that a soul beast merges with their pet, the pet's in their mind, and then they're both of those things, and they go, Sikkim, okay, and then they shoot a bow harder. It sounds so stupid.
Sikkim? Who you telling Sikkim? Me?
He yells at himself, then shoots the bow harder, and it kills people.
I'm surprised you didn't say Minion Master Necro.
I feel like a minion necro has its place. Now I can't look at Soul Beast the same way before. Thank you for ruining that for me.
Oh wait, you think that's bad? I can make it worse. Use search and rescue while you're merged with your pet, and you teleport to a downstate nearby ally and start licking their wounds. You could have just hit the F key, but no, you made it weird.
PG stream, folks. That's what we're trying to offer here. Now we're over here teleporting to people, licking them, and we're down. We're out. Tag. I'm never getting partner at this rate. But
not with that attitude.
Not with that attitude. Vallun, that's actually not the answer that I thought that you would have said. Honestly, I would have said if I had to venture a guess, I would have said necromancer. I would have thought that was actually the profession that you didn't like.
Well, as a thief main, that wouldn't be very biased because thieves are actually pretty good against necros, but they hate rangers.
All right, Hat, I'll kick it to you. What do you got? What profession do you dislike? What's the one that you hate the most?
My least favorite. Can I just say whatever one I'm playing against in PvP? Is that fair to say?
That's a viable answer.
No.
So you're basically playing against 5 Bladesworns right now. So go ahead.
Yes. No, I hate every class that's not the one I'm playing. No, if you want my honest answer, and it's not that I just don't like it, Elementalist. I cannot get into it.
How dare you?
Over it. I know. And clearly in our last little thing that you and I did together, like you showed that it's obviously extremely effective. And I know they're kind of meta now for PvP, but I have tried, and it's just not a class for me. And it's not like it's too complicated because another one of my favorite classes is engineer, but like, I don't know. It's just, I just can't get into it.
I actually could have seen that from you. The disdain for the elementalist. I can understand that because I hate myself when I play it. Let's be serious. You have to a little bit. Like, why am I putting myself through this when the rifle mechanist can press one button and win? But I can understand that. I can understand that. Muck, I see you smiling because I think I know your answer, but I want you to go ahead and say it.
I'm smiling because there's a photobombing Quaggan jumping all over my screen right now. So my answer, it depends on the thing. If you're talking about like from a like lore fantasy perspective, the thing I dislike the most is the warrior because I find it boring. Like, in this world of magic and stuff, you chose to be someone who lifts. You could do that. You could do that at the gym. So I mean, you need warriors. They're the guys that run on the front line and die first. You need them, but I find them a boring concept. That said, every game has them. Every game needs them. On another hand, if we're talking about gameplay, I'm fine with most classes except when a mesmer puts like a portal on a treasure chest. I just suddenly have like an overbearing hatred for all mesmers. Just seething hatred when they do that.
That's what I was
like,
waiting
get rid
for
of
you to
all
say.
of them. That's one thing that comes to mind. The last thing that comes to mind is firebrands being overpowered for the last 5 years, so I hate blue class.
Respectful on the blue class league. I know that you, because I think you actually made like a short. You talked about this on your stream, and you made it into a short video, and I was rolling at it because I never thought of it like that. Because I was like I'm not super tall of a guy, but I'm like, oh yeah, I have a Norn warrior. I'm like, oh, big strong man, and it's like, and you're like, yeah, but warriors go in and die. They're the soldiers on the front line, and it's like in chess, I would be the pawn. I'm literally the pawn in chess, and it's like now I can't. I was like, I mean, I hate my.
Yeah, at the
warrior.
beginning of Lord of the Rings, every time Sauron swings his mace, he killed like 27 warriors.
It's just one
Pawn class.
One swing
grinder,
raid wipe. There we go. I would have ventured a guess for mesmer. That's where I would have gone if I had to say anything for you. That would have been my.
When I was right now, the only thing that bugs me with mesmers is like portal trolls. Back when I was like, I'd say the first year I was playing the game, and I was, even now, I do not claim to be the best. I think I'm between decent and good. But the first year I played the game, mesmers, I vastly struggled with them in PvP, and it felt like let's say you took 2 warriors who were silver, in ranked PvP, and then one of them goes, I'm going to try mesmer, without having any idea of what he's doing. he's gold now. Because he slams some buttons, he makes some Naruto shadow clone noises. He doesn't even know which one of them he is, and the other guy dies and they're both confused. Like, you know, just low-level arena of face-rolling Mesmer is just God. And that's another issue I had with them. As I improved at the game and I learned how to like kind of see their tells for the better part, then it's like, yeah, okay, this isn't as bad as it was for me for the first year. So now I just hate them when portal trolls happen.
I can actually agree with that because when I started getting into PvP, like I had played it on and off before I made any content for it, I was doing these kind of like obnoxious meme tages. And yes, I can look back at them and be like, man, this is a little bit much. I'm putting like a weird sound effect or image or something like that. It was like every cadence was like every 5 to 10 seconds on an 8-minute video. Good Lord, it was too much. I picked up the Mirage, and it was a build actually I think Vallun you made, your one build to rule them all. Yeah, I use your guys' content, thank you. I went ahead and I tried the Mirage, and I had like 20 HP, and I outplayed a Renegade without getting touched. Like, I should have died, and I don't know what I'm doing. I've never played a Mesmer up until that point. I was just like, oh, hey, the buttons are flashing, let's play. Oh, look, that one. And that was the game. That was gameplay. And I actually was like, if I knew what the hell I was doing, I would be so much better at this game. Like, I mean, that's blanket statement, yeah, but Mesmers are interesting, and I still think it's something I would want to go and try.
I think class, like kind of like psychology is always pretty interesting because everyone always hates like a specific class, and you've got like all the thief mains have like this very specific trait that they all have, like that they think that their class is really bad and that they're actually really good. And then LE mains are just like they think that they're like smarter than everyone. And then ranger mains are usually just like they're just chilling, like smoking while they're playing the game. And then mesmer mains are like always trying to like pretend like, you know, they're lying to you. I think it's always pretty interesting, and it's like something that crosses like throughout, like not just Guild Wars 2, but like other games as well. Like you can see like mage players are kind of like the same thing in WoW as LE players.
Now just imagine every time that you run into a ranger, you have to assume that they are high every single time now. Muck, I think you were
They're
playing
just,
your
like, chilling, right? Like they don't care. They're just chilling.
Sick 'em. Or whatever, man.
Search and rescue, whatever, just shit. Like, it's on you.
Usually smoking a blunt, you know.
You're like,
just imagining like Snoop Dogg in a ranger trench coat, just like
Yes.
sick 'em. Stupid.
It's true.
and all the ranger mains are like, oh my god, I never actually thought of it like that. Am I
Every
Snoop
time
Dogg?
They press Sick'em, they're just like, all right, they just put down their blunt or whatever. They're like, all right, time to start playing the game for another 5 seconds. And then the other person that's getting Sick'em is like, all right, and maybe this could be like a good shorts video that you could make, Dad. Caffeinated Dad. You could like show the POV of like a Sick'em ranger, and then show the POV of the person getting Sick'em. It's like the what is that one meme where they're like sweating profusely?
It's like gallons of water just dripping off the guy.
There's a couple of them. You got the Key and Peele one. You got the one from the old movie Airplane. You got the sweaty speedrunner gamer, like where he's sitting there and he's.
You'll figure it out.
Oh, I got. Thanks. This is like write it down. Write it down. We got to write this down.
Well, I would love to see Heavy Hat act this out in one of his little bits.
That's what I was going to say.
A wig with dreads somewhere in your room. Yeah, I know you got a lot of stuff in there.
You'd be surprised. You open up my closet, and you're like, "What the hell is going on in here?"
What does your wife say? But before you get into this, what does your wife say when you you come in wearing your outfits, your long hair and your beard and stuff like that? But like nothing. I'm playing games. Leave me alone.
So if you know the old wizard character that's in like half of my little skit videos, that's totally my wife's robe, and so I always run in and I'm like, Hey, honey, I'm on my
Borrow
lunch
your
break.
robe.
I need to borrow your robe again. She's like, you're disgusting. Take it.
And then she listens to you through, like, from the other end of the house talking to yourself
Oh,
in that
exactly.
room.
Yeah. Just
Well-
one side of the conversation, then I film one side of the conversation.
In my chat, it's like, it's time for private time. Excuse me, honey. I have to go do my videos.
But,
Knock before entering.
oh god. No, I was going to buy a big old afro, so there we go.
But
I did it as a joke. I did it by accident for the very first time. So before I was called the Heavy Hat, I was just Let's Play It, which is the most generic thing on the planet. And then I realized I put that white wig on top of my hat, and I was like, that looks freaking hysterical. And so then it just became a meme to myself of like, I'm gonna wear a hat and everything. So like anytime I have a wig on, I actually have a hat underneath it.
but I love the commitment and then the evolution of these characters, because I've actually gotten into my head watching your videos that they are all like within the same universe. This is the hat metaverse right here. Like they're all part of it.
Metaverse.
The metaverse. I mean,
Have you ever done a video where you showed your head without the hat on?
There is one where I accidentally didn't film it, and that actually probably 6 months ago, Caffeinated Dad and I had a podcast, or I was on his podcast for a second, and he asked me for a fun fact, and I was like, I actually do have hair underneath his hat. Like a lot of people think I'm bald.
Did you ever see the cartoon Ed, Edd and Eddy?
Yeah.
So Double D, the one with the hat, there was this like running guy. Everyone's like, "What is under your hat?" And like there was one where they saw it, but it was off camera, and they were like all gasped. And like you as the viewer never got to see what was under the hat. I was just thinking, if you have any videos where you don't have the hat on, you should unlist those and then start calling attention to it. Like have one of your characters to like at the end of it just be like, what is that under your hat? And then just cut it off there.
And then you need to get sponsored by Keeps.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't even have to be like that he's bald. I mean, maybe he has too much. Maybe his hair is different
He may
colors
or
under
may
there.
not.
Maybe he's got like a giant zit. I don't know.
Well,
That could be a gag. What's under the hat?
There's been a few times where I've filmed it and I didn't want to refilm it, and so if you go back and watch it, all I did is put like a censored sign over my head.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just need to start like slyly drawing some attention, but like have one of your characters addressing like the hat, and then just cut it out.
I love it.
evolution. Look, you were sitting there and you're like, oh, well, when something it gives me inspiration. There you go. Like, now we have a lore story of the Heavy Hat, and now we got to talk about it. It's got to be done. Sponsored by Keeps. It would be fantastic. So I do want to just actually bring up that that is really the topics that we are going to talk about. Do any of you guys have some closing thoughts, closing words, anything about either Guild Wars 2, anything we've talked about tonight? Yeah, I think that says enough. What do you guys got? Crickets, fantastic.
You put us on the spot.
What did you expect? It's a podcast interview.
This wasn't on the list of pre-approved questions.
Calling my agent.
I thank you for having us. Thank you for having me. I shouldn't have said us. I spoke for them. Vallun might not be grateful. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to the future. I do, as someone who plays the game a lot, we content creators that, see this for hundreds and thousands of hours, we occasionally have negative things to say. But that is coming from, we really like the game. If anyone's seeing this and thinking about getting into the game, and there's going to be a lot of that with like the Steam launch and stuff like that, there is hundreds, possibly thousands of hours of content for you to enjoy before you see any of the stuff that we're talking about. So there's my bit.
I agree. I agree that even though like what we're talking about is more, obviously, I even brought up the first question being in-game balance. I think it's important to realize that this game is very much about just the immersion factor of where you are. You're in Tyria. You're in this magical place that you can quite literally go and just do whatever. And you can be whatever. And it's kind of like, in some regards, your hands are held to a point with like the story missions and things like that. But hey, what's this? Something just popped up on my map. I'm gonna go run over and kill this thing, and it's like these dynamic, moving pieces in the game, and I feel like that's arguably one of the most underrated pieces of it. Is just this like, oh God, I'm gonna quote it, living world like that you can be a part of.
He said the thing.
I said the thing. Vallun, Hat, what do you guys got?
You make me go first again?
Okay, Hat.
I went first. You're second.
Right.
I'm trying to be respectful of your guys's, like, you know, you guys came over to here after me begging you for months.
We can,
Months.
we can pick a number, see who goes first.
I'll just go unless you want to.
That's fine, man. You can go.
Okay,
What am I supposed to talk about again?
damn it, Vallun, come on, man. All right.
Let's compromise. Caffeinated Dad, you answer the question.
Okay.
Steam.
So,
Steam.
Steam, what, you're gaining Steam? What's happening? Like,
I don't know. What are we supposed to
He said, do you have any closing remarks? Anything you want to tell him?
do, isn't it?
Steam.
Just plug your sponsor. Exclamation HelloFresh.
Just and boom goes the dynamite.
That's where we have the cutaway, and it's Muck talking about HelloFresh. Like, this ad.
You know why he's out of it? He's playing his Ranger right now. He just took a long drag.
Yo, sycamore shit. I don't know.
Around during the entire podcast, just like jumping around. I could be fishing or something, maybe.
I actually thought about having gameplay in the background. We're diverging from the point here. What
I'm just like
closing
playing Minotaurs in the background.
closing thoughts? Good Lord.
My closing thoughts is that I think this was fun. It's always nice to talk to people. You know, you always get kind of like isolated as a content creator. You think, you know, you gotta work on your own stuff, but sometimes, you know, collaborating is nice too. So there you go.
I feel like you should take the last like 3 minutes and just put that up as a video.
Oh,
and
I've already had that idea.
Vallun answers the real questions. That's the title.
I had the thought of like, it was like Vallun under candid interview or something like that. Something like really dramatic. Have his character or have his profile picture, tag him a bunch of times. I got an idea.
Or you could just say Mr. Beast a million times, and that'll probably do you a lot better.
Fortnite Among Us.
Just say Among Us a million times on stream, and you'll be good.
I'm sorry, this stream is starting to become really sus. Hat, what do you have? What are your thoughts? What'd you say?
Oh gosh.
Excellent segue.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, now that I'm shunned and confused, I will say thank you, Vallun, for making me realize that I'm actually not trash at this game. I just had a bad build occasionally. So that's been nice. But final thoughts about Guild Wars 2. I saw a Reddit thread not too long ago where, I'll be honest, I didn't even read the thread. I was scrolling through and I saw the title, and it was Guild Wars 2 is my comfort game. And it kind of made me think, and I was like, huh, I like that. It's really kind of cool because, like, I play a lot of different games. I know all of us play a lot of different games, but I find myself coming back to Guild Wars 2 a lot simply because, A, I've got a lot of time invested into it, but it's just so familiar and easy to jump into. So there are days where, you know, I've had a rough day at work or whatever. I know I can, like, disconnect from real life and just play a fun game, and it's kind of my comfort game.
Great point. Actually, that I feel like there's a number of people who would either like on any of our streams, any of our subscribers, followers, however you wish to put them, that feel the same way. I mean, you come back to what's familiar, and obviously human beings being creatures of habit. You know, after being pushed around either out in the real world or literally being pushed around, sometimes it's nice.
Jesus.
Rough times. It's fun to come.
Are you okay at home?
Listen,
twice?
Everything is fine. I need my wife's robe. So I do think it's important that we realize that this game is, to some people, a lot more. And no, John, I have 3 daughters. I have 3. I'm viciously outnumbered. I think we have to understand that a lot of people play this game specifically for that factor of comfort. And that's I mean, heck, that's why I started playing. I got tired of just making all these random videos and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? I've been playing I was playing the blue class, the Forbidden Blue Firebrand. And I was like, this is fun. This, I haven't played this game in, like 2 years, but I can sit down and just enjoy it. And I don't have to think. I don't have to do. I don't know, mash a button, burn some people, and apparently smoke weed now. I didn't realize that. Thanks, Vallun. That's great.
Burn some paper.
Burn some paper.
I'm learning so many new terms from you guys tonight.
He's like writing it down, like, okay, burn the papers.
It's like, this is why my firebrand's damage was so low.
Yeah, I
was reading the pages of the book. I'm supposed to burn them.
Yeah.
Burning stacks are so damn high. Kush. So I do want to say that the community has been fantastic. And I poke fun at Reddit because Reddit's always, every time I go there, no matter what I do, even it's like, hey, this game's pretty cool. It's like 1,000 downvotes, which I always think is hilarious. No matter what you do, everyone's angry there.
Hey,
which is
listen, if you need to feel better about that, it never gets better.
It has never gotten better. That's why
literally everything I have ever put on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit has been basically bombed into oblivion.
Yeah,
true story. I once did a post on the Raid Shadow Legend. Unironically, I play that game on my second monitor. I put a post on there because there was something I figured out that people hadn't figured out. Same thing I do when I make like Guild Wars 2 guides. They were so nice. I was like, this is amazing to me. Like me with like 100 guides under my belt. Raid Shadow Legends community is nicer to me than Guild Wars 2 is on Reddit.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, wow, hey, Muckluck. Oh, wow, I appreciate you talking about this game. Hey, happy to have you. Good friend. And it's like, I went on, I think one of the first things that I did was I started making, like, just little memes that I would put on, social medias and stuff like that. I put it up there. I had, like, the first 5 comments in the first 5 seconds were all, like, untrue, like, stop criticizing the game and stuff like that. Like, it was like, why is everyone so angry? Good lord.
GW2 Twitter and GW2 Facebook. And I know, Facebook, it's old people. It is old people, but you know what? They're super nice.
Yeah.
GW2 Twitter and GW2 Facebook, I could show my content there. And if they don't care about it, that's fine. They don't like get angry about it. They just don't click it. But if they like it, then they say nice things. Then Reddit is just like, it posts at your own risk.
Yeah, everyone's angry there. I just don't get it. What? One of my watchers said, "Welcome to Reddit. I will not be your guide. I hope you hate your stay," which is pretty damn accurate. Before we get rambling on too far, I do want to say thank you, Muckluck. Thank you, Heavy Hats, Vallun. I appreciate all of you guys. Notice I didn't say thank you, Vallun. Thank you, Vallun. I appreciate all of you guys stopping by, hanging out, chatting about Guild Wars 2, because let's be serious, we wouldn't be this far into the game if we didn't actually enjoy playing it. Unless you guys have some deep-seated secret that you were planning on telling me. I don't know. I don't know what I was hoping from the end of this, but...
maybe on the second date.
No, the second date. Second date. I hope everyone's high then. I actually just realized...
We are Rangers.
Well, everyone rolled a Ranger. I can't get it right now. I wear a shirt that says highly caffeinated when I stream, and my mic was blocking the LY, so it said high.
Highly caffeinated. I get it.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
So what you need to do now is you need to like put like a finite end on the podcast, and if you want to keep like talking, then that can be after it.
Oh, that's what. Okay, right. That's what I got to write down.
Do like Tesla. You have to pay like $1 to get past this point in the video. It's like the heated seats.
The heated seats. All right. So, thank you guys for coming. I do appreciate your time, and I appreciate you guys giving honest opinion and honest chat about the game. I want to thank all the people who have watched the stream. Certainly, there's going to be a couple videos coming out from this, at least on my end. I can't speak for everyone here, but again, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was fun.
No problem.
All right, and I do want to say thank you to Chad. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you tune in next Monday. I think we're going to go try some more ranked matches. But aside from that, you have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch you guys later.